papers which are related to what? To your topic, and discuss the issues which have been stated in those particular papers and presented in your literature review. Of course, they should be related to your study. Naturally, this will not be as comprehensive as the literature review in your actual dissertation. I told you, it is not as comprehensive as the literature review of your dissertation, but it will lay the foundation for that. The literature review of your proposal would lay the foundation for your actual thesis literature review. In fact, if you put in the effort at this stage, you will make your life a lot easier when it's time to write your actual literature review chapter. Okay, so be careful about this section of your proposal, because when you start to writing literature review of your actual thesis, you will be comfortable if you have done it appropriately, if you have gathered appropriate articles related to your topic. That's why I say I told you to study about 100 papers related to the topic that you want to choose. There are a few things you need to achieve in this section. Demonstrate that you have done your reading and are familiar with the current state of the research in your topic area. So demonstrate that you have done your reading and are familiar with the current state of the research in your topic area. All right, what should you do? What should you write in the literature review? Before writing something in the literature review section of your proposal, you have to what? Read. Reading different papers which are related to your topic, and select those sections which can be included in your study, right? So reading is very important. You have to read up, read as many papers as you can. This is my strong advice. Do it, please. And are familiar with the current. You have to show that you have read all the previous researches in that field and you're familiar with the current state of the research. You have to show your readers, your supervisor, your instructors, that you're fully familiar with this particular area, right? That particular area is your topic. Show that there is a clear gap for your specific research. That is, show that your topic is sufficiently unique and will add value to the existing research. That's why we say that your research should be something new. You cannot do and copy the same researches which have been done previously. Ethically, academically, socially, they are not right. They are not right. That is not right to do this. So you have to do something new. You have to show that your study would be unique and your study would add value to the existing research. Although it cannot be something, it can be something related, to the previous studies done in the field, but it should not be exactly the same thing. That's a kind of, wrongdoing. If you do that, or if somebody does that, he would be accused of plagiarism, and be careful not to be accused of plagiarism. And 3, show how the existing research has shaped your thinking regarding research design. For example, you might use scales or questionnaires from previous studies. So you study previous researches and papers not only in order to write appropriate literature for your proposal, but to find appropriate research design for your own study, and even use the same scales or the same tests or the same questionnaires that they have used in their studies, right? So that's why you study previous or existing literature. When you write up your literature review, keep these three objectives front of mind, especially number 2, revealing the gap in the literature. The gap should be revealed and stated, presented in the literature, so that your literature review has a clear purpose and direction. You have to reveal the gap in the literature, whether that gap that you're following or you're pursuing has been presented and answered in those literature or not is one main issue, because you are dealing with this particular gap, and that gap is a gap in previous literature review, in previous literature, and this gap is going to be answered by you as a new topic or as a new researcher, right? Everything you write should be contributing towards one or more of these objectives in some way. If it doesn't, you need to ask yourself whether it is truly needed. Top tip: don't fall into the trap of just describing the main pieces of literature. For example, A says this, B says that, C also says that, and so on, right? Don't fall into the trap of just describing the main pieces. Just simply saying that what they say is not enough, right? Merely describing the literature provides no value. Instead, you need to synthesize it and use it to address the three objectives above. For example, you have to synthesize ABC means writer A or researcher A, researcher B, and researcher C, right? They have talked about the same issue you're working, but you should not simply present what they say. You have to synthesize, yes, compile them together, gather them together, and mention the main issues of what they have said. This is the way that you have to present it, in your literature review. And that was ingredient number 4. All right, so I just stop here and explain the research design later in the other class, next session. So please study these sections as carefully as possible. They are very, very important. We have mentioned, let's review what we have set up to now. We have mentioned very important issues regarding what? Regarding your proposal. We talked about literature review, how to write it, and what does literature review mean. I told you that quantitatively it takes just about 4 or 5 pages, but qualitatively how to write it, how to write the literature review is very important, because although it is not going to be generated by you, because they are literature or they are previous studies which have been done by the previous researchers, you have to gather them together and synthesize them and write it in your literature review, showing that you have studied the previous researchers and you're fully familiar with them. All right, this is the main reason of literature review. These are very important, because sometimes the students, even after doing their research, they are not familiar fully with literature review, with introduction, with methodology, with research design. So please pay careful attention to these points, and while you're writing your proposal, you have to include them in your proposal. So it should be about main concepts of your topic. I told you that you have selected a topic and a gap, and you're going to do research on that. You have to look at the previous literature, the previous studies which have been done in the field, in order to show that you're fully familiar with that, and it should be clear, and you should clearly state the gap. So we also get familiar with the other issues relating writing proposal. We said that we have to specify the scope of our research, what we are going to cover, how many students we are going to work on, how many teachers we are going to gather the data from, right? Or for example, if we are going to analyze a textbook, how many pages, how many chapters are we going to analyze? What kind of points we are going to, take out from those textbooks? Because sometimes a group of topics, research topics, are related to, curriculum development and material development and material evaluation. Therefore, working on the textbooks, as I told you in previous session. So you can you have to specify the scope of your research exactly. And we talked about what? About introduction, saying that introduction is the showing the background of your study, and at the same time you have to focus on your specific gap and topic, and it's actually a broad an overview of the broad area that you're going to do the research on, and it is also an explanation of the specific area and a place for showing your aims and purpose of the study, right? And the research question. Apart from that, a statement of the problem, significance of the study, and also a place for presenting the limitation of the study and vocabulary definition or key term definition. This is what we do in introduction. Okay, and also we talked about some other issues which were very, very important, including the title and the title header, and also we talked about subheadings, some headings, and also some subheadings, which are very important. You have to have in your proposal. And so these were the points that we discussed in this session, which were very, very important, and I hope that you have got the main issues of research proposal, and we will discuss the other issues inshallah in the next sessions. So please study these sections as carefully as possible, and I'll ask you some questions, and also you can ask some questions from me in the online classes, and also sending some messages through their system. Do it please, because in this term you're supposed to write a well-structured and appropriate research proposal, which is going to be expanded for your actual thesis. Don't forget that, right? So and work on these issues, and find your area of interest, find a suitable topic which can be taken from the reading, or can be taken from the previous literature. I mean, you have to read different articles and papers in your area which is of your interest, in order to find appropriate topic, and then change it into a well-structured proposal. So that's it. Thank you very much, and wish you the best.